How many wide receivers are you comfortable taking in the first round?
4.
Okay.
4. It depends on your first round, right? If you're in a 10-team league or a 12-team league.
Are all their jerseys on the wall?
No. Wait, you know what? They are. All their jerseys are on the wall. Yes. So, for those that are listening to this, here's my top 10 fantasy wide receivers. Cooper Kupp. That just went away. What are you going to do? Here, hang on. I'll read it. So, Cooper Kupp is obviously at number 1. Justin Jefferson at number 2.
Yep.
Jamar Chase is at 3. Devontae Adams is at 4. Stephon Diggs comes in at number 5. CeeDee Lamb at 6. Debo is at 7. Tyreek Hill at 8. T. Higgins at 9. And then Mike Evans pops in at number 10. DJ Moore at 11. A.J. Brown at 12. In the others receiving votes for the first round category. Okay. In terms of who I would feel most comfortable drafting inside the first round, honestly, I think you can. For me, it goes down to Adams.
Okay.
Right?
Like, so you got 4 guys.
Right.
And Diggs doesn't make it.
If you have I have Diggs at 11 overall. So if your first round is 12 players, I'm comfortable with Diggs at the very end of the first round there. But I've Kupp 4th overall, Jefferson 5th, Jamar Chase at 8th, Adams I have Adams at 10 overall. I have Kupp at 4 and Justin Jefferson at 5 overall, Jamar Chase at 6 overall. Devontae Adams at 10 overall, Stephon Diggs at 11 overall. That's on my top 200. All of my rankings are available, my top 200 available at NBCSportsEdge.com, rotoworld.com as well. I think this year more than ever, because the wide receivers are so elite and because we have so many running back by committee and we saw a decent amount of big name players get injured last year at the running back position, we feel better about a wide receiver retaining value. We always talk about how, one of the things that, we didn't really get to in the first segment, we were talking about the 7 habits of highly effective drafters, is that you understand how crucial those first 2 rounds are. Yep. The first 2 rounds are incredibly crucial. We always say you can't win your draft in the first 2 rounds, you can lose it. Over 30% of your weekly fantasy total generally will come from your first 2 round picks. So you want safe there. And generally speaking, wide receivers hold their value year after year more often than running backs because there's less volatility at the position, there's less injuries at the position. So we feel pretty good about Kupp, Jefferson, Chase, Adams, and Diggs in terms of the quarterbacks they have, in terms of the target share they're going to get, in terms of their overall talent. And we think all of them are less likely to get hurt than some of the running backs.
Talking about some of these guys, there is no player whose stock has risen from a betting perspective, I think as a real-life perspective as well, over the offseason than Justin Jefferson, where now people have anointed him. And I think there will be lots of people going into drafts wanting to take Jefferson over Cooper Kupp because they see there's more upside, he's more exciting, he's more athletic, he ties into a lot of those types of things. But I would have Kupp almost in his own tier as the number 1 guy. And the reason for that is that he's already done it. You're projecting Jefferson to do what Kupp did last year when Kupp has already done that. And look, Kupp had 1 game last year where he had less than 95 yards. Yeah. 1, that's completely absurd. And 2, Justin Jefferson had 10 games under 95 receiving yards. So there is a big gap for Jefferson to close. And look, he clearly has the talent, but I think Kupp is clearly the guy, and I don't even think it's that close.
Well, I mean, in order for him to beat what Kupp did last year, Justin Jefferson would have to have the greatest season in NFL history for a fantasy wide receiver.
It's a really high bar.
It's a really high bar. We're really excited about the Vikings offense. We think they're going to take the next step. Obviously, the guy helping call plays for Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips, they were part of McVay's staff last year when Cooper Kupp did have that record-setting year. I feel very strongly that Jefferson is wide receiver 2.
Yes.
I almost think they're almost separate tiers. Kupp's his own tier, Jefferson's his own tier, and then you get into the Chase, Adams, Diggs tier for me. And then I think Lamb is his own tier, and then I would go to Debo, Tyreek Hill, Higgins, Evans, I think is sort of the next tier here.
Yep. Well, a lot of those guys fold into the next question, which is how likely are you to stack wide receivers from the same team? And we're talking about Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. We're talking about Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson. Just overall, what's your philosophy there?
My overall philosophy there is I don't care what team they're on. Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they don't know that they're on the same fantasy team. I'm just looking for good players. We think all these players will produce. Now, as you sit here on your screen and you see Kupp Robinson, Chase Higgins, Hill, Waddle, Evans, Godwin, Allen Williams, the one that gives me the most pause there is Hill and Waddle, because that's Tua, and we don't know what that offense will look like. We don't know if that offense can support two fantasy relevant wide receivers. We know that the Rams can, and Stafford can, because we saw it last year with Kupp and Woods early and Kupp and OBJ late. We know that the Bengals can, obviously. We know that Godwin and Evans can, because we've seen it from Brady. We know that the Vikings can, because we've seen it from Jefferson and Thielen when Thielen was healthy last year. We know that Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense can, because we've seen it for King. So I'm not targeting players from the same team, but I'm also not avoiding it. Again, as we let the draft come to you, if Mike Williams is the best wide receiver available and I already have Keenan Allen, great. Yeah. By the way, I mean, I think Williams is a better value than Allen, but same thing. Like, I don't have a problem with if I've drafted Jamar Chase into the first round and then for whatever reason comes back around at when you're in the third and T. Higgins is somehow still out there, grab T. Higgins.
Yeah,
T. Higgins is going to have a very good year, even if Jamar Chase also completely balls out.
Yeah, it's not so much a question of whether you're in on Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It's a question of whether you're in on Joe Burrow, really, at that point. And all those duos that we showed, they all had quarterbacks who are within the top 8-9 favorites for MVP, except for Tua Tagovailoa, who's plus 7,000 to win MVP,
right.
And it's just not in that same class as Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford, and co. Okay, next question. What do you look for in late round wide receiver targets?
I look for upside.
Yep.
I think there's upside. So let's just talk very briefly about sort of overall philosophy on drafting wide receivers. I think it's important to have both ceiling wide receivers and floor wide receivers. It's one thing if you're drafting a best ball, then you want all guys that can just sort of boom or bust, and you'll figure it out week to week, right? Because best ball. But assuming you're drafting a team where where you're drafting a season-long team, right? I mean, you want a guy like who's a good example of this? DJ Moore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's a ceiling on. Michael Pittman has a crazy ceiling this year. We love Michael Pittman this year. But DJ Moore has a floor. Like DJ Moore, we don't know about the touchdowns. He's never been able to score more than 4. But this is a guy that's had over 1,200 yards from scrimmage each of the last 3 years. Like
with Sam Darnold.
With Sam Darnold
and
right, exactly. Right. Kyle Allen. We know DJ Moore is really talented, is going to get a massive target share. So, I mean, I think you want both players that are like sort of floor guys, but also like upside guys. Like Elijah Moore is an upside guy. Hunter Renfrow is a floor guy. And so I think you want a mixture of that because you don't want to have to count on these boom-bust guys every single week. You want at least some guaranteed production at your wide receiver position. As a result, as you're going through that mid-round, we talked last segment about the dead RB zone.
Yes.
Give me those mid-tier wide receivers. I just think this is an important stat, right? Last year, wide receivers on Yahoo between 11 and 20 at their position, 70% of them finished as a top 20 wide receiver last season. Running backs between 11 and 20 at their position last year, 50% finished as a top 20 wide receiver. Again, a top 20 running back, I should say. Again, it is just one of those things where wide receivers, especially in those middle rounds, where you're looking at the Brandon Cooks and the Rashad Batemans and the Marquise Browns and the Gabe Davises and the Mike Williams of the world, the Jujus of the world, right? Those are the guys that we think have a lot more upside than the Josh Jacobs, and you're taking a Josh Jacobs just because you need a running back because he qualifies at the position. But if Juju's a top 15 fantasy wide receiver this year, no one's going to be shocked.
Yep.
Same with Gabe Davis. Same with Marquise Brown.
Yeah, 100%. There were 23 wide receivers that had over 1,000 receiving yards last year. There are only 7 running backs over 1,000 rushing yards. And guys like Darnell Mooney, we're projecting him to flirt with 1,000 receiving yards. Like, it's Darnell Mooney. Right. He's going outside the top 90 in drafts. But in terms of late round targets,
1,000%. In terms of late round targets, what you're looking for is a couple of things. You're looking for talent and opportunity, and potential for opportunity. And so by that I mean you have to think about especially like sort of rookies or why might they pop, right? So here's a late round wide receiver that's going. Robert Woods.
Yep.
Robert Woods might get a 25 to 30% target share, especially if Treylon Burks is slow to get going. You think about Amon-Ra St. Brown last year. Amon-Ra didn't do anything. And then the final 6, like as a rookie wide receiver, sort of popped. Think about the second half of Jalen Waddle's year last year. So again, do I think Chris Olave or Jahan Dotson are on fire Sky Moore, are they on fire out of the gate? No. But, or Jalen Tolbert, I like him a lot as well as another rookie wide receiver. George Pickens, but again, as they get more acclimated into their offense and the quarterbacks get more familiar with them, then I think they have a chance to pop over the second half, or talented guys that all they need is an injury.
Yep.
Josh Palmer is a guy like that. Again, with Justin Herbert as his quarterback. So you're looking for guys that have good quarterback situations or potentially and have the talent that if they get an opportunity, they can pop. So
I think the other thing there is you want the unknown as well. You want unknown situations because that creates upside. So guys with new quarterbacks, with new schemes, or even someone like Devontae Smith, who now has A.J. Brown there, and he has a new environment in the passing game, or Christian Kirk, who goes to Trevor Lawrence as maybe the number one option. That unknown and that uncertainty creates upside.
Isaiah McKenzie has never had an every down road, but now he is going to be the slot receiver for the Buffalo Bills, right? Alec Pierce now going to be, with a good NFL quarterback in Matt Ryan, right?
Yep.
KJ Osborne sort of came out last year, and now he's going to be the number 3 on what we expect to be a really pass-happy offense. So again, you're just sort of looking for, to your point, what's the unknown? Where's the opportunity? Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.